Amazon, yeah. So we recently talked about the Apple keynote event that happened on September 10th, but on Wednesday of this week, September 25th, I believe, Amazon had their annual hardware event where they also rolled out some exciting new products. They featured items with 7 new Echo devices and Alexa features. And some of these features are as experimental as new glasses that are Alexa enabled. And then also they have their Alexa enabled oven. So a lot of it is very AI focused. And some people seem to be pretty excited about it online, at least from what I was seeing on Twitter, Megan. I'm really interested in what your LikeFolio data has to say about how people are responding to these Alexa devices.
Yeah, so when you look at Amazon and when we're watching purchase intent with Amazon, obviously there's so many different ways that a consumer could be talking about spending money, whether they're shopping in Whole Foods, whether they're on Amazon Prime, things of that nature. And we saw a pretty big spike on the date that you mentioned for purchase intent. It was the biggest spike that we've seen since their Prime Day event this summer. And we dove into the data, and what we found is that they announced all these products, like you mentioned, specifically these wearables. We saw extremely positive reception of the Echo Buds in particular. Not only did they have the highest volume in terms of, people talking about the product and wanting to buy the product, but their sentiment overall in those tweets was about 95% positive, which is crazy. I think it was really smart of Amazon to, hook up with Bose. It gives that private label a little bit of street cred. And, it's something that we're watching moving forward because we're seeing strength from competitors in headphones as well.
So I didn't see how much these Echo Buds would cost, but I'm assuming that they're under the Apple AirPods hefty price tag, right? And so I'm wondering if Amazon announcing their product that's very similar to Apple's after the fact may have been maybe good for them in the long run as far as getting more customers to purchase their Echo Buds. What are you seeing with that?
I think that, we're watching the AirPods have really significant strength this year. Previously AirPods, you'd see a peak around Christmas. Obviously, they were really hyped whenever they were first introduced. And really in 2019, though, we've seen a consistent uptick. This is a 7-day moving average of purchase intent. So you can see that every day, more and more people are talking about buying AirPods. And, one trend we follow, which is kind of a fun one, is the Visco girl trend. And apparently AirPods are like a staple of Visco girls. I don't know if you guys know anything about that.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Exactly. So, I think that it's smart of Amazon to jump in the game and, provide a competitive own label product. The fact that it's Alexa enabled, that's exciting. That kind of distinguishes them from the AirPods, I would say. So I think that, we're watching this specifically as holiday shopping increases to see if consumers have a preference. They seem to be excited about Amazon's product, and that could bode very well for Amazon.
Question for you, Megan. How important is it, though, that they aren't first to market in this place, at least in some of these? Obviously, the headphone space, Apple is already in there. So many other companies. You mentioned Bose. You mentioned, we mentioned Beats by Dre all the time. Apple, of course, owns that space. So with the exception of Apple, how important is it to be early in a space to kind of capture that market share and that loyalty to a product? Because Apple always seems, whenever they come in, it doesn't matter when they start. Obviously, they were late to the smartwatch space, and as they started to dominate that after, they already have that loyalty to the brand. Does Amazon have that loyalty where they can be late and still capture market share?
I think where Amazon has a little bit of the leg up in this, at least in this arena, is their pricing. They did price just below the AirPods. I do think that Apple obviously has been dominating that space, but if consumers are open, I don't know in terms of brand loyalty, how much people are loyal to AirPods. And I think that that's going to be tested with this new product. We're going to have more insight once these actually, hit the market and consumers start using them, and there's more feedback in terms of their quality and things of that nature. But sentiment was really high. And I think that that's the key factor here when we look at the announced date, 95% positive. That's insane. You just don't see levels of consumer happiness around new product announces like that. So that's something that's why we think it's important and why we think it's positive for Amazon, and it's something that they need to be able to capitalize on.
no matter what, this does mean that Apple does have increased competition in this space. However, we do have another hardware event coming up, and that's from Microsoft on October 2nd. And this first tweet from Tom Warren says, "I truly hope Microsoft doesn't have 15 new hardware products at its Surface event next week. Otherwise, I think I'll pass out. Amazon just out here throwing hardware out like candy." I think this is interesting because it sort of sets up how we did have the Apple keynote, and then this week the Amazon hardware, and then the Microsoft hardware Surface event, that even though we sort of know that they're going to probably will only talk about their Surface developments, it's interesting how all these companies sort of follow in suit, and it definitely pits them against each other.
Yeah, well, Megan, real quick, building on that, to kind of get your take too, is how important is it that Amazon actually did do that, and if they're that positively received, at least thus far on social media, that they're doing this to get into this more hardware space? As every one of these companies is racing to build that first ecosystem that's complete, that everyone goes to, Amazon's a little bit behind Microsoft and Apple in the device space. They have the retail e-commerce, they have everything else, but they aren't necessarily that device outside of their Alexa, in-home speaker division. So this, might be a very, very positive thing for the company, as you're mentioning.
Yeah, we're seeing it really help lift those purchase intent levels. And I think that it's important that they're trying to integrate Alexa into every part of everyone's life. Right now she's in a speaker, but the fact that you could, travel with her through these different devices, become more dependent, it just integrates more into your daily routine, and that kind of builds that brand loyalty. I think Amazon has a lot of competition brewing. They've got a lot of headwinds from, competition from other retailers, not just Apple and Microsoft in like the device field, but even when you look at online deliveries, consumers have other options other than Amazon. When you look at, the cloud space, they see a lot of competition growing from Microsoft. So I think it's important that Amazon continue to be, consumer friendly, at least when it comes to their own devices, especially moving into the holiday season.
I noticed that a lot of people online were pretty skeptical about the privacy issues surrounding all of these new, this new hardware that is Alexa enabled, since that has been picking up on, what people say. And this next tweet says, "Amazon literally just announced a Ring with 2 microphones, roughly 1 hour after telling us how much it cares about privacy." And I saw a lot of tweets just like this, as far as with the glasses that could pick up on what they're saying. But I wonder, how really different is this from what your phone carries around whenever you walk around with it? And do these privacy concerns really weigh on Amazon right now?
Yeah, Megan, I'll let you get your take. To me, the glasses and a Ring, at least right now, seem like a very niche product that you're going to have to go out and seek. But if we rewind time and we go back to when cell phones were first starting to come out, that seemed like a niche product too. So we don't really know how things will be adopted by the public going through time. But when you're thinking about it, a Ring with 2 microphones, I'm trying to figure out how you could actually fit 2 microphones on a Ring.
And why you would use it is also my question, but...
Yeah, that one was definitely, I would say, the least popular of all the wearables that were announced. And it was also the least popular in terms of sentiment. I don't know how significant that Ring is going to drive revenue for them, but it's interesting that they kind of did a mind shift from, okay, you have this smart house, and then now you actually are wearing your smart devices. The smart devices are on you, they're part of you, and you can take this through your everyday life. I think that's kind of an interesting shift. Still a little bit dependent on your phone, but it kind of separates from the consumer from the device, from having to ask Siri or ask, whatever assistant. If you have a question now, you have Alexa whenever you need her.
Yeah, and Meg, I think you made a couple great points actually right before the holiday season. This was very timely in terms of the announcement, and really I think even if the Ring doesn't end up being this massive product like let's say the Apple Watch, it shows that they're willing to try new things and try to disrupt this space, which a company like Amazon has made its entire success off of innovation and disruption. So it's important that they're sticking to their roots there. But Megan, kind of final thoughts as we let you go here for this Friday. You like the idea of Amazon kind of continuing to grow out their product mix, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, from a purchase intent perspective, their quarter ends, I believe, tomorrow, and we have them up about 30% year over year. So we see a strong consumer, at least on the side of Amazon that we can measure, right? And these devices and things like that really come into play here. So a healthy quarter ahead for Amazon.